The world of sports has been tossed into a state of grief in the past few days, mourning the unfortunate passing of NFL-bound former LSU wide receiver Kyren Lacy. However, with each passing hour, new information emerges regarding his demise. The latest piece of that puzzle is a revealed call which has shed light of the events leading up to Lacy's death.
Deputies with the Precinct 4 Constable's Office were called to a weapons disturbance.
Was the promising athlete attacked? Was he troubled or consumed by guilt? Stay glued to your screen as all will be revealed. The call that changed everything. On Saturday, April 12, 2025, just 2 days before the grand jury was scheduled to begin hearing evidence in Kyren Lacy's case, the most unexpected event occurred, and it changed the entire course of the legal drama Lacy had found himself in. The events of that night began to unfold in Houston, Texas, where Lacy was staying. According to reports from the Harris County Sheriff's Office at approximately 11:15 p.m., deputies from Harris County Precinct 4 responded to a call about a weapons disturbance. The caller, a female family member, stated that Lacy had discharged a firearm into the ground during a verbal argument. By the time law enforcement arrived at the scene, Lacy had already fled. This raised a series of questions. What exactly transpired during this argument? What was said? What led to such an escalation? These details remain private, known only to those who were present. What we do know is that this moment marked the beginning of a tragic sequence of events that would unfold over the next hour. At approximately 11:35 p.m., about 20 minutes after the initial call, a unit spotted Lacy's vehicle and attempted to initiate a traffic stop. Lacy refused to pull over, triggering a police pursuit that spanned several miles. The chase concluded near the 25900 block of Aldine Westfield when Lacy's car crashed. When officers approached the vehicle, they made a devastating discovery. Lacy was deceased from what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. A handgun was recovered from the scene. It's important to note that body camera and dash-mounted video review confirmed no shots were fired by law enforcement AIR. The pursuit ended. The Harris County Sheriff's Office investigators believe that Lacy likely took his own life during the pursuit before the crash occurred. In accordance with standard procedure for deaths that occur during attempted arrests, the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences conducted an autopsy, and the Civil Rights Division of the Harris County District Attorney's Office reviewed the results of the investigation. The news of Lacy's death sent shocks through the sports world and beyond. The timing, just 2 days before the grand jury was set to review evidence in his case, added an additional layer of tragedy to an already devastating situation. This final decision made by Lacy would indeed change everything, bringing a sudden and tragic end to his life, his legal proceedings, his NFL aspirations, and even a family's quest for justice. As news of Lacy's death began to spread, there was an outpouring of grief and shock from those who knew him, as well as from the broader community. LSU Athletics issued an official statement expressing their sorrow. We're saddened to learn of the tragic passing of former LSU football student-athlete Kyren Lacy. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family and loved ones, as well as his former teammates and coaches impacted by his passing. The LSU Football X account also posted a tribute stating, "The LSU football family mourns the loss of Kyren Lacy." Lacy's attorney, Matthew Ory, released a statement that acknowledged the tragedy, while also hinting at his client's legal situation. "It is with profound sorrow that we confirm the tragic passing of Kyren Lacy. First and foremost, we ask that the public and the media give his family the space and time they need to grieve this unimaginable loss in peace." Kyren's was scheduled to have his matter heard before a grand jury tomorrow, wherein we were very confident the evidence, AR being fully collected and reviewed, would lead to a declination of charges. Ory later criticized what he described as a witch hunt investigation, suggesting that the legal pressure may have contributed to Lacy's state of mind. Friends and former teammates also expressed their grief and disbelief. Former LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels shared multiple messages on Instagram, including, "It was your turn next, bro. We was finna be there right with you, I swear. And till next time, Bruda, we gonna hold it down for you. You gonna live your dreams through us. Hope you at peace now." These heartfelt messages reflect the plans and dreams that they had shared for their futures. Another friend, Rontrell Sandolph, paid tribute on Instagram, writing, "I'm so lost for words, I'm speechless," and shared a carousel of photos and videos expressing his disbelief and grief. Michael Desormeaux, the head coach at the University of Louisiana, where Lacy had started his college career, posted on social media, "Hard to ever find the right words to say. I don't think that there are right words. Please join me in praying for all of Kyren's former teammates and family members who are mourning his loss. A lot of our guys are hurting today." Perhaps the most touching and impactful response came from Lacy's father, Kyren Lacy, who shared a heartfelt message on social media that focused on mental health awareness. Young parents, start talking to your kids at a very early age and make sure they are confident and comfortable confiding in you. Don't be cool with "I'm all right" or "I'm good" when you know deep down something isn't right. Mental health is real, and for the most part, it's invisible. Don't ignore the signs, even if they may seem small. He continued with his heartfelt message. Our lives have changed forever, and this will never be okay, but God needed my baby more than he was needed here. This has to be the biggest pill our families have had to swallow, but I know the love and compassion in our families will get us through. This will never get easier, but we'll learn to live with it. These words from a grieving father highlight an important aspect of this tragic story: the invisible struggles that many people face with mental health. The public reaction on social media was similarly filled with grief and reflection. On X, formerly Twitter, users expressed shock at the news, with posts like "sad awful news" as NFL Dre prospect Kyren Lacy was found dead of apparent suicide. He was just 24. He had 58 catches for 866 yards, 9 touchdowns for LSU this past fall. Others emphasized the mental health aspect, with one user noting, "Depression is so very real. Kyren Lacy, former LSU standout, dead, very young. Family confirmed it. So painful." The reaction wasn't uniformly sympathetic, however. The complex nature of the situation, involving both Lacy's death and the earlier crash that claimed a man's life, led to mixed responses. Some posts on social media mentioned Herman Hall, the victim of the December crash, indicating a desire to acknowledge both tragedies. In videos that have emerged in the aftermath, we can see glimpses of Lacy's life in the period leading up to his death. One video shows him in happier times, showing off a new home filled with pride and joy.
Man, brother got a crib, you hear me? 2-story house, you hear me? You hear me? Man, brother got a crib, I'm about to show y'all in the tour, you hear me? What? You hear me?
Another video captures interactions with friends, with Lacy receiving encouragement about his future.
You next, though. Keep thanking you, love you, brother. Love you too. Love you too, brother.
These videos provide glimpses into Lacy's life and the support system he had around him. They make the tragedy of his death all the more heartbreaking, as they show a young man with friends who cared for him and dreams for the future. The sudden and tragic nature of Lacy's death raises many questions about the pressures he was facing and the state of his mental health in those final days. The timing, just before the grand jury hearing, suggests that the legal situation was weighing heavily on him. His father's comments about mental health indicate that there may have been invisible struggles that were not apparent to those around him. Research has shown that elite athletes can face unique stressors, including performance pressure, public scrutiny, and career uncertainty. When combined with legal issues or personal crises, these pressures can become overwhelming. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, lists several risk factors for suicide, including legal troubles, social isolation, and loss of status or identity, all of which may have been relevant in Lacy's case. As we await more updates following Lacy's sad death, this incident draws the public to his background and story, good and bad, including the unfortunate accident that claimed another man's life a few months ago. Tragedies of a rising star. Kyren Lacy was more than just statistics on a page or highlights on a screen. Born on December 27, 2000, he was a young man with dreams, ambitions, and a future that seemed blindingly bright. Lacy was raised in Thibodaux, Louisiana, where he attended Thibodaux High School. During his senior year, he caught 54 passes for 864 yards and scored 18 touchdowns. Considered the 10th best wide receiver in Louisiana's 2020 recruiting class, he chose to play college football at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. He was rated as a 3-star prospect and turned down offers from Houston, Louisiana Monroe, Louisiana Tech, Miami, and Virginia. In his first year at Louisiana in 2020, Lacy appeared in 11 games, recording 28 catches for 364 yards and 4 touchdowns. The following season, he participated in 13 games and totaled 22 receptions for 304 yards and 6 touchdowns. Ere the 2021 season, he transferred to Louisiana State University, LSU, where he truly began to shine. In his final season at LSU, he caught 58 passes for 866 yards and shared the Southeastern Conference lead with 9 touchdowns. Receptions in 12 games in 2024. His athletic prowess was undeniable, and by December 2024, he was ranked as high as the number 6 receiver prospect by ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr., positioning him as a potential first-round pick in the 2025 NFL draft. But as we all know, life has a way of taking unexpected turns, and Kyren's story is a reminder of how quickly circumstances can change. December 17, 2024 was a day that marked marked the beginning of a tragic sequence of events. It was on this day that a devastating car accident occurred on LA Highway 20 in Chack Bay, Louisiana. According to Louisiana State Police, Kyren Lacy was driving his 2023 Dodge Charger at high speeds along LA Highway 20 in Chack Bay near Thibodaux. In a dangerous maneuver, Lacy allegedly passed multiple vehicles in a no-passing zone, crossing the center line in an area notorious for its hazardous driving conditions. The consequences of this alleged recklessness triggered a catastrophic chain of events. A northbound pickup truck swerved desperately to avoid Lacy's speeding Charger. Behind that truck, a Kia Cadenza also veered Lee in evasive action, but in doing so, crossed the center line directly into the path of the southbound Kia Sorento, carrying 78-year-old Herman Hall and his wife. This resulted in a head-on collision between two other vehicles that led the involved cars in unrecognizable chunks of mangled metal. The human cost of this incident was devastating. Hall sustained critical injuries and later died in the hospital. He was a retired U.S. Marine and Customs worker, remembered as a loving father and grandfather. His death left a hole in the hearts of many, particularly his daughter, Monica Dickerson, who would later speak out about the profound impact of losing her father in such circumstances. According to reports, Lacy allegedly fled the scene following the accident, leading to charges that would include negligent homicide, felony hit and run, and reckless operation. These weren't minor infractions. These were serious charges that carried significant potential consequences, including substantial prison time. The aftermath of the accident cast a shadow over what had been a promising career trajectory for Lacy. Just 2 days after the crash, on December 19, 2024, Lacy declared for the 2025 NFL draw. It's impossible to know what was going through his mind at that moment, whether he fully understood the gravity of what had occurred or if he was hoping to move forward with his life and career despite the tragedy that had just unfolded. The legal process began to take its course, and on January 12, 2025, nearly a month after the fatal crash, Lacy turned himself into authorities. He was booked into the LaFourche Parish Correctional Complex on the charges that had been outlined in the warrant: negligent homicide, felony hit and run, and reckless operation of a vehicle. The severity of these charges reflected the gravity of the allegations against Lacy. Negligent homicide, a charge brought in cases where a death results from criminal negligence, carried with it the potential for significant prison time. The felony hit and run charge stemmed from allegations that Lacy had failed to stop and render aid following the crash, while the reckless operation charge addressed the alleged dangerous driving behavior that had led to the fatal collision. It's worth noting that he was released on $151,000 bail, spending less than 2 hours in custody before being released. A grand jury hearing was scheduled for April 14, 2025, to determine whether the case would proceed to trial. As the legal process unfolded, there were differing perspectives on Lacy's culpability. His attorney, Matthew Ory, contested the police account, claiming that Lacy did not cause the crash and that another vehicle was responsible. Ory stated that Lacy cautiously drove around the scene ere it was safe and did not believe he was at fault. The legal situation had significant implications for Lacy's professional prospects as well. While initially considered a top receiver prospect for the 2025 NFL draw, reports indicate that the NFL pulled his Dre card following the charges, a move that his attorney criticized as premature. Meanwhile, the family of Herman Hall was seeking justice for their loved one. Monica Dickerson, Hall's daughter, spoke about the devastating impact of losing her father and emphasized the need for accountability. She stated, "They need to have consequences. I don't want it to be swept under the rug because of who they may or may not be." This reflected concerns that Lacy's status as a former LSU athlete and NFL prospect might influence the case. As the date of the grand jury hearing approached, the pressure on Lacy undoubtedly mounted. The legal challenges, the uncertainty about his future, and the weight of being involved in an incident that resulted in loss of life. All of these factors were converging to create an immense amount of stress. This pressure wasn't happening in isolation. As we know now, mental health challenges can lurk beneath the surface, invisible to those around us. Lacy's father, Kenny Lacy, would later emphasize this point in a message he shared on social media following his son's death. As April 2025 approached, it seemed that Lacy was maintaining some semblance of normalcy in his life. He participated in LSU's Pro Day in March 2025, still holding on to hope for his NFL dreams despite the legal clouds hanging over him. Friends and teammates continued to support him, as evidenced by texts exchanged with Detroit Lions cornerback Amik Robertson, a close friend from their shared hometown of Thibodaux, Louisiana. On January 11, 2025, shortly after an arrest warrant was issued for Lacy, Robertson sent him a message encouraging faith and resilience. "I need you to trust the process and put it in God's hands. I know this is a tough time, but my faith high. I don't know what happened because I don't want to get into that. But if you are in the wrong, everyone makes mistakes. It's all a learning process. Keep faith, Brody. I'm always here, right or wrong." Lacy responded with appreciation, saying, "Appreciate that bro needed to hear that. They gon' feel it." These messages give us a glimpse into Lacy's mindset during this challenging period, a mixture of gratitude for support and perhaps a a determination to overcome the obstacles in his path. But as the date of the grand jury hearing drew closer, the weight of the situation may have become increasingly unbearable. What was going through Kyren Lacy's mind in those final days? What pressures was he facing, both externally and internally? These are questions we may never fully answer. The world is lead to deal with the aftermath of the young star's demise, the lasting impact of a decision. First and foremost, Lacy's death brought the criminal case against him to an immediate halt. A grand jury hearing had been scheduled for April 14, 2025. That hearing, which would have determined whether there was sufficient evidence to indict Lacy in connection with the December crash on Highway 20, never took place. With the accused no longer alive, the case could not proceed. There would be no indictment, no trial, no opportunity to weigh the evidence in a court of law. In a legal sense, the case was closed the moment Lacy died. For Herman Hall's family, this lack of resolution through the legal system represents a significant loss, the abrupt end. To the legal proceedings denied the family the closure they sought through the justice system, thereby creating a legal void for the family. With the accused no longer alive to face charges, the grand jury would not convene, no indictment would be issued, and no trial would determine Lacy's guilt or innocence regarding the December crash that had claimed Herman Hall's life. For nearly 4 months, the Hall family's grief over Herman's loss had been accompanied by a singular focus on the legal process, with the pursuit of justice serving as a channel for their pain and anger. Now, with that process terminated by Lacy's death, they faced the challenge of processing not just their original loss, but also the realization that the full truth of what happened on Highway 20 that December day might never be officially established. Keeping their past statements in mind,
I'm confident there will be justice, but no, I won't stop.
No matter who it is?
No, I don't care who it is. No, I mean, they wouldn't. If the tables were turned, you know, if it were them, they wouldn't stop.
These words spoke to a broader truth, that the pursuit of justice, Owen, isn't about winning or losing. It's about bearing witness, about making sure that someone is held accountable, not just privately, but publicly and officially. The family had made it clear that they were not one to walk away quietly without getting the justice they deserved. The news of Lacy's death on April 12, 2025, came as a shock for the Hall family, adding an unexpected twist to what had already been a devastating 4 months since Herman's passing. Despite this devastating turn, the Hall family's public statement following Lacy's death revealed a surprising grace. Rather than expressing anger or frustration, they offered condolences to Lacy's family. Our family understands how painful it is to lose someone you love, and we extend our deepest sympathy to his family. It was a response that stunned many observers who had followed the case. It would have been understandable, even expected, for the Hall family to feel bitterness or rage, but instead, they chose to acknowledge a shared grief. 2 families, each grieving a devastating loss. 2 lives, Herman's and Kyren's, now permanently linked not by a trial, but by tragedy. This response was particularly noteworthy given Heather Dickerson's earlier statements about seeking justice for her father. Throughout January and February 2025, she had been vocal about her determination to see accountability for Herman's death. Now, with Lacy's death, the legal path to justice had abruptly closed. The grand jury hearing scheduled for April 14, 2025, would not take place, at least not with Lacy as its subject. The Hall family would need to find closure through other means. They had been actively engaging with the legal process, preparing for what they hoped would be progress toward holding someone accountable for Herman's death. Now, that process had been short-circuited by Lacy's death, leaving them with unresolved questions and without the closure they had been seeking through the courts. Yet, their compassionate response to the Lacy family's loss suggested a recognition that grief transcends the hostile nature of the legal system. Still, the compassion in their statement did not erase the pain of an unresolved loss. The emotional toll on Hall's family was already immense from losing their loved one in the December crash. Dickerson had described the moment doctors informed her of her father's death, highlighting the severity of his injuries and the devastating impact of his loss. Now, with the legal case closed due to Lacy's death, they face the additional challenge of coming to terms with the fact that there will be no legal resolution or accountability through the courts. For Lacy's family, the tragedy is profound and multifaceted. They've lost a son, a brother, a loved one to an alleged suicide, a devastating experience for any family. The circumstances surrounding his death, including the pending legal issues and the manner of his passing, add layers of complexity to their grief. The aftermath of these 2 intertwined deaths has both families facing a grief compounded by ambiguity. The Hall family must now confront a future without the courtroom reckoning they had prepared for. The Lacy family must navigate the pain of losing a son under the weight of public scrutiny. There's also the public to consider. The community that followed the case, that debated Lacy's culpability and Hall's legacy, now must reckon with the uncomfortable reality that no legal resolution is coming. Those who hope for answers may never get them. Those who hoped for justice are wondering what justice even looks like now. A particularly equally striking aspect of this story is how quickly circumstances changed for Kyren Lacy. In December 2024, he was a top NFL prospect with a bright future ahead. After the accident, his career prospects dimmed, but he still participated in LSU's Pro Day in March 2025, maintaining some hope for his NFL dreams. But by April 12, 2025, less than 4 months after the accident, his life had ended in tragedy. The rapidity of this downward spiral underscores how quickly life can change and how important it is to have robust support systems in place. In cases like this, where a legal ending is denied, families must look elsewhere for healing. For the Halls, that might mean redirecting their energy into remembrance rather than retribution. While we understand that most times there is no healing without truth, but in this case, the truth may never be fully known. This story goes to show the profound impact that one decision, one moment can have on multiple lives. The decisions made during the December car accident and the decision made on April 12, 2025, irrevocably changed the course of many lives. It's a fervent reminder of how our actions can have far-reaching consequences, often in ways we cannot fully anticipate. If you enjoyed this video, click on the one showing on your screen to give yourself some more treats.